The late summer sun hung low over the sleepy coastal town of Seacrest, Oregon, casting long shadows across the pebbled beaches and weathered boardwalks. Clara Hensley adjusted her wide-brimmed hat as she stood in the backyard of the Harper family's seaside cottage, where a lively birthday party for young Lila Harper was in full swing. At 58, Clara carried herself with quiet dignity, though years of unspoken grief had left faint lines around her hazel eyes that still searched every crowd for a glimpse of something lost. Her husband, Martin, 61, stood near a driftwood bonfire, swapping fishing stories with a group of local men. They'd arrived an hour earlier, joining the tight-knit community's celebration, a tradition in Seacrest for decades. The birthday song had been sung, candles extinguished with a puff from Lila, and slices of chocolate cake passed around. Children now darted across the grassy yard, their laughter mingling with the distant crash of waves, while adults chatted over iced tea and lemonade. Clara was half listening to her neighbor Susan's tale about her latest knitting project when a figure at the sliding glass door caught her eye. A man she didn't recognize stepped onto the patio, holding the hand of a girl about 7 years old. "Apologies for being late," he called out, his voice carrying over the chatter. "Bit of a mix-up at home." The girl, dressed in a purple polka-dot dress with bright orange suspenders over a white turtleneck, tugged free and raced toward the other children playing near a tire swing. Her auburn curls bounced with each step. The sight of the outfit hit Clara like a rogue wave. Her breath caught, and her iced tea glass trembled in her hand. The dress, the suspenders, the turtleneck. It was eerily similar to what her twin daughters, Sophie and Emma, had worn the day they vanished in 1993. Without a word to Susan, Clara set her glass down and crossed the yard, her pulse racing. She reached the girl just as she joined the others, gently touching her shoulder. "Sweetie, where did you get that dress?" she asked, her voice soft but urgent, her fingers brushing the girl's curls. The girl's eyes widened, and she pulled away, sprinting back to her father. "Papa, Papa!" she cried, her voice sharp with fear. The man, tall with a salt and pepper beard, looked up, concern creasing his brow as he strode toward Clara. "Is something wrong?" he asked, his tone wary but not hostile, as he placed a protective hand on his daughter's shoulder. "She grabbed me," the girl said, clinging to his side. "She scared me." The man's gaze hardened slightly. "Why'd you touch my daughter?" he asked, stepping closer. Clara opened her mouth, but words failed her. Her eyes darted to the girl's dress again, her fingers twitching as if to confirm its fabric. "That dress, those suspenders. Where did you get them?" "Excuse me?" The man positioned himself between Clara and his daughter. "What's this about?" Martin appeared at Clara's side, his presence steadying her. He took in the scene with a quick glance. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice calm despite the tension. "My wife didn't mean to upset anyone." He looked at the girl, and Clara felt him tense. "It's just your daughter's outfit. It's almost identical to what our girls wore." "Our daughters, Sophie and Emma, were twins," Clara added, her voice breaking slightly. "They disappeared 30 years ago in 1993. They had purple polka-dot dresses with orange suspenders, just like that." Murmurs rippled through the nearby guests. Mrs. Harper, the party host, stepped forward, her expression sympathetic. "It's true," she said softly to the man. "The Hensley girls vanished right here in Seacrest. The whole town searched for months." The man's face softened. "I'm so sorry," he said, glancing at his daughter's dress. "I bought this at a thrift shop a few weeks ago, up in Astoria. I didn't know." Clara, still shaken, pleaded, "Could I just see the dress? I need to know if it's the same brand." Martin gently touched her arm. "Clara, love, this isn't Sophie or Emma. Let's not scare the girl." To the man, he added, "We're sorry for the distress. It's a painful memory for us." Mrs. Harper placed a hand on Clara's shoulder. "You look pale, Clara. Maybe you should head home and rest." Martin nodded. "Good idea." He thanked the Harpers, apologized again to the man and his daughter, and guided Clara toward the gate. "I'm really sorry," the man called after them. We're new here, just moved to Seacrest. Thought the party would be a nice way to meet folks. No harm done, Martin assured him, though his grip on Clara's arm was tight. They walked the short distance to their weathered beachside bungalow, the sound of the ocean a constant backdrop. Inside, Martin settled Clara on the couch and headed to the kitchen to brew chamomile tea. When he returned, he handed her a steaming mug. "I didn't mean to frighten that girl," Clara said, her voice trembling. "It was just that dress, Martin. It was like seeing them again." "I know," Martin said, sitting beside her. "It shook me too. The purple polka dots, the orange suspenders. It's uncanny." "I can't let it go," Clara said, tears welling. Sophie and Emma would be grown women now, 36 years old. "But I can't stop seeing them as they were." Martin squeezed her hand. "We don't have to forget them. Never will. But we need to be careful not to let the past consume us." Clara set her mug down. "I want to see their photos again, Martin. The ones where they're wearing those dresses. Please." Martin hesitated. "They're in the storage trunk in the garage. We haven't touched it in years." "It'll help me settle," Clara insisted. "Please." With a sigh, Martin nodded and headed to the garage. Clara heard the creak of the door, the rustle of boxes. He returned with a sealed plastic storage bin, its lid clouded with dust. They set it on the coffee table and Martin wiped it clean with a rag. Together, they opened it, revealing relics of their daughter's childhood. Tiny seashell necklaces, a pair of matching rag dolls, watercolor paintings with smudged handprints, and report cards with teachers' notes praising their creativity. "The photo album's at the bottom," Martin said, his voice thick. They carefully lifted out the items, each one a fragile link to Sophie and Emma. Finally, Martin pulled out a faded blue album, its edges worn from years of handling. They sat close, opening it to images of their twin girls. As newborns swaddled in matching blankets, as toddlers chasing seagulls on the beach, and at birthday parties, blowing out candles in perfect unison. "They were always so in sync," Clara whispered, tracing a photo of the girls building a sandcastle, their auburn curls catching the sunlight. Martin turned the pages slowly, pausing at each memory. Then they found it. A photo of Sophie and Emma standing on the boardwalk in front of their cottage, wearing purple polka dot dresses with orange suspenders over white turtlenecks. Their smiles were bright, arms linked, the ocean sparkling behind them. "This was taken the morning they disappeared," Martin said quietly. "Just a couple of hours before." Clara leaned closer, studying the dresses. The girl at the party, her dress was similar but not quite the same. The polka dots were smaller, and the suspenders had a different clasp. "These look more handmade, don't they?" Martin nodded. "The ones our girls wore were from that local seamstress, Mrs. Callahan. The girls dressed today looked store-bought, more modern." Clara rubbed her temples. "I feel awful for how I reacted. What was their names again?" "Ellie and her dad, Nathan," Martin replied. "They moved into the old Peterson house a month ago. You don't need to feel bad, Clara. It was a shock." They lingered on the photo, reminiscing about that final morning. Clara smiled faintly, recalling how Sophie had insisted on wearing her suspenders crooked until Clara fixed them, and how Emma had already smudged her dress with sand before breakfast. As Martin reached for the teapot to pour another cup, Clara suddenly grabbed his arm, nearly spilling the tea. "Martin, look at the background," she said, her voice urgent. "That van. Isn't that the one Mr. Larson, their music teacher, used to drive?" Martin set the teapot down and squinted at the photo. In the background, partially obscured by a driftwood fence, was the side of a teal Volkswagen van parked across the street. "You're right," he said slowly. "Sophie was obsessed with that van. She loved the flower decals on the side. The girls always begged to peek inside when they saw it." "That's Mr. Daniel Larson's van," Clara said, her voice rising. "He was their music teacher at Seacrest Elementary. He called it his hippie chariot. Everyone knew about it." Martin nodded. "The kids thought it was the coolest thing. But didn't he leave town before the girls disappeared?" Clara's brow furrowed. "I'm sure this was taken that morning. They disappeared in the early afternoon. But Mr. Larson told everyone he was moving to California to teach at a new school. There was a big farewell concert at the community center a week before. Martin frowned. If that's his van, it shouldn't be there. He was supposed to be gone by then. Clara turned the photo over, checking for any notes, then examined it again. Are you certain this was taken that day? Positive, Martin said. He rummaged through the storage bin and pulled out an old photo envelope, the negatives still tucked inside. Look, the development date is stamped here, 2 days after they vanished. This was definitely that morning. Clara shivered, despite the warm evening air filtering through the open window. If that's really Mr. Larson's van, he might have seen something that day. The police would have questioned him, right? They should have, Martin said, his tone uncertain. But I don't recall them mentioning him. They looked at all our photos back then. If it was his van, they'd have checked the license plate. Clara's mind raced. We knew everyone in Seacrest back then. No one else had a van like that. It was so distinctive with those flower decals. Maybe it was a visitor's, Martin suggested. Someone passing through. We can't jump to conclusions. Clara took a deep breath, sipping her tea to steady herself. You're probably right. It's hard not to wonder. Martin closed the album gently, but Clara kept the photo in her hand, unwilling to let it go. They began repacking the bin, each item a bittersweet reminder of the life their daughters might have had. As Clara and Martin finished packing the storage bin, the rhythmic crash of waves outside their Seacrest bungalow seemed to echo the turmoil in Clara's mind. The photo of Sophie and Emma, with the teal Volkswagen van in the background, lay on the coffee table, its edges curling slightly from age. Clara's gaze kept returning to it, the flower decals on the van a vivid reminder of Daniel Larson, the music teacher who had charmed the entire town with his guitar and easy smile. Martin glanced at the clock on the wall, its driftwood frame a gift from Sophie and Emma's last summer camp. Good grief, it's almost noon, he said, standing abruptly. I've got my physical therapy appointment at 12:30 for my knee. The clinic closes early on Saturdays. Clara blinked, startled. I forgot to remind you. Dr. Ellis hates tardiness. She quickly helped Martin gather his insurance card, a list of his medications, and the notebook where he tracked his mobility exercises. Within minutes, he was ready to leave. Are you sure you'll be okay alone? Martin asked, pausing at the door, his eyes searching her face. I'll be fine, Clara said, forcing a smile. I'll make some lunch, maybe rest a bit. I'll have dinner ready when you're back. Martin kissed her forehead and hurried out to their old pickup truck. As the engine rumbled away, Clara picked up her phone from the kitchen counter. A notification blinked, a text from Margaret Tate, a retired school administrator who had worked for the Seacrest School District for over 25 years. Annual teachers' reunion next month at the community center. Hope you and Martin can make it. Clara stared at the message. Margaret had known Daniel Larson well, having overseen his tenure at Seacrest Elementary. If anyone could shed light on where he'd gone after 1993, it was her. Without overthinking, Clara dialed Margaret's number. Clara, what a treat! Margaret's warm voice answered. Did you get my text about the reunion? I did, Clara replied. We'll try to come. How are you, Margaret? It's been too long. They chatted for a few minutes, catching up on local gossip and health updates. Clara steered the conversation carefully. Margaret, do you remember Daniel Larson? The music teacher at Seacrest Elementary back in the early 90s. Daniel? Of course, Margaret said brightly. He was a gem, had all the kids singing folk songs and strumming air guitars. Why do you ask? Clara hesitated. I was looking at an old photo today, and I saw his van in the background. You know, that teal Volkswagen with the flower decals? It got me thinking about him. Oh, his hippie chariot, Margaret laughed. He loved that thing but barely drove it, kept it polished like a trophy. What about it? Do you know where he is now? Clara asked, keeping her tone casual. I thought he moved to California to teach. There was a pause. Actually, Clara, that's not quite right. Daniel never taught again, at least not in any school district I know of. He didn't file transfer papers. I always thought he'd gone off to start some kind of music camp or retreat. A retreat, Clara repeated, her pulse quickening. Yeah, Margaret said. I heard through the grapevine he set up a place for at-risk youth, teaching them music and crafts. It's called Larson's Coastal Harmony Retreat, I think. Somewhere up near Tillamook. Larson's Coastal Harmony Retreat, Clara echoed, memorizing the name. Why didn't he stay in teaching? Not sure, Margaret admitted. He left suddenly after that big farewell concert. Said he needed a change. You know how he was, always a bit of a free spirit. Do you remember when he left town? Clara pressed. Was it before or after my girls disappeared? Margaret sighed. It's been so long, Clara. I'd say a week or two before, but I can't be certain. Why all the questions? Just curious, Clara said quickly. Seeing that van brought back memories. Thanks, Margaret. After hanging up, Clara went to the small desk in the living room and opened her laptop. She searched for Larson's Coastal Harmony Retreat and found a basic website with a serene beach backdrop. The homepage showed young women and girls painting, playing instruments, and working in a garden, most appearing to be of Native American or Hispanic descent. The gallery depicted a peaceful, creative environment, with Daniel Larson's bio highlighting his years as a music teacher and his passion for mentoring youth. The mission statement emphasized empowerment through art and music for disadvantaged girls. The site listed an address near Tillamook, about an hour's drive north, and an email contact but no phone number. Clara glanced at the clock. 12:15 p.m. If she left soon, she could reach the retreat by early afternoon. She grabbed her phone and called Martin, who was still at the clinic. Martin, how's your appointment going? She asked. Still waiting for Dr. Ellis, he replied. Everything okay? I found something, Clara said, explaining Margaret's information about Larson's retreat. I want to visit it today. Will you come with me? Martin paused. Clara, I'm worried you're getting caught up in this van thing. It might just be a coincidence. I'm fine, she insisted. I don't want to assume the worst about Mr. Larson. He was so good with the kids. But I'd like to see what he's doing now, maybe ask about the van. Could be closure. Okay, Martin said reluctantly. But we should email first. Let him know we're coming. I'll send a message, but they might not see it in time, Clara said. They agreed to meet at the clinic, which was on the way to Tillamook. Clara would take the bus to save time. I'm leaving now, she said, grabbing her purse and the photo. The coastal breeze was brisk as Clara locked the door and hurried to the bus stop 2 blocks away. The bus arrived just as she reached it, and during the 20-minute ride to the clinic, her mind churned with questions about Daniel Larson and his van. As she stepped off, a teenager in a tie-dye shirt handed her a flyer. Coastal Arts Festival this week, the girl chirped before moving on. Clara glanced at the flyer. It advertised a week-long event showcasing local crafts, music, and a special art auction happening today, just a few miles from Larson's retreat. Interesting, she murmured, tucking it into her purse as she entered the clinic. Martin was at the front desk paying his copay. He smiled when he saw her. Good timing. Dr. Ellis says my knee's improving. Less swelling this month. That's great, Clara said, relieved. Ready for our trip? Soon. They were in their pickup, following the GPS along the winding coastal highway. The scenery shifted from Seacrest's quaint boardwalk to rugged cliffs and dense pine forests. Any reply to your email? Martin asked. Nothing yet, Clara said, pulling out the flyer. But look at this, there's an arts festival near the retreat. Today's an auction. Larson might be there. Martin glanced at the flyer. Could be. Let's check the retreat first, then the festival if we need to. After an hour's drive through misty forests, they turned onto a narrow dirt road marked by a painted sign, Larson's Coastal Harmony Retreat. The path led to a cluster of cabins, a main lodge, and a barn decorated with vibrant murals. The place was quiet, with only a few figures visible in the distance. They parked near the lodge, and as they stepped out, a young woman in her mid-20s approached, her dark hair tied back in a braid. "Hello," Martin called, waving. "We're looking for Daniel Larson." The woman smiled warmly. "This is his retreat. Do you have an appointment?" "No," Clara said. "We're old friends from Seacrest when he taught at the elementary school. We sent an email." "Oh, the website email is outdated," the woman said apologetically. "Mr. Larson's at the Coastal Arts Festival today with most of our staff and girls. They're running a booth to promote the retreat." "We heard about the festival," Clara said, disappointed. She turned toward the truck, but Martin stopped her. "Since we're here, could we look around?" he asked. "We'd love to see what Daniel's built." The woman hesitated, then nodded. "Let me check with the manager. 1 second." She stepped away, made a quick call, and returned with a smile. "You're welcome to tour. I'm Mia, by the way." For the next 25 minutes, Mia guided them through the retreat. She showed them the garden where girls grew herbs, the music studio filled with guitars and drums, and the art barn covered in colorful murals. She explained how the retreat taught at-risk girls creative skills, offering them a safe space to heal and grow. "This is our creativity barn," Mia said as they entered a vibrant building with paint-splattered tables. "It's where the younger girls experiment with art. Mr. Larson designed it to spark their imagination." Inside, a woman in her late 30s was arranging art supplies. Her auburn curls were streaked with gray, and her smile was warm but guarded. "Mia, these are friends of Mr. Larson," the guide said. "They're visiting from Seacrest." The woman wiped her hands on an apron and approached. "I'm Vanessa," she said, shaking their hands. "I'm the art coordinator. Nice to meet you, Clara and Martin Hensley. I'm setting up for a workshop at the festival," Vanessa explained, gesturing to the tables. "We're showcasing how we teach the girls to express themselves through art." Clara studied Vanessa, her auburn curls and quick movements stirring an unsettling familiarity. "You've been here a long time?" she asked. "Since I was 7, Vanessa said. "Mr. Larson took me in when I had no one else. He's got a gift for helping kids." "He was our daughter's music teacher," Clara said, watching Vanessa closely. "They loved his classes." "He's amazing with kids," Vanessa agreed, adjusting a stack of watercolor paper. Clara's eyes drifted to a mural on the wall, a vivid painting of a teal Volkswagen van adorned with flower decals, surrounded by abstract waves. "That van," she said, pointing. "It looks like Mr. Larson's old one." Vanessa nodded. "It's his. He still keeps it in the garage. I painted that as a sample for the girls. Mine's neater than theirs." She laughed, pointing to the Messier artworks nearby. Clara felt a chill, her heart racing. Vanessa's curls, her smile. It was like seeing Sophie grown up. "Do you have any siblings?" Clara asked, unable to stop herself. "Clara," Martin said softly, a warning in his tone. Vanessa smiled, unfazed. "I do, actually. My sister's at the festival with Mr. Larson. You should check it out. There's a youth art show and the auction soon." They thanked Vanessa and Mia, who led them back to the entrance. As they walked, Clara glanced back at the barn, her mind spinning. In the truck, she fastened her seatbelt with trembling hands. "Martin," Vanessa's curls, her smile. "She reminds me of Sophie." Martin started the engine. "Clara, we can't assume that. She looks different, older. It's just the hair." "But it's not just that," Clara insisted. "The way she moves, her energy. And that van painting." Martin sighed. "The festival's only 15 minutes away. Let's go talk to Larson." The drive to the Coastal Arts Festival was a short one, the narrow road winding through pine forests and opening to a sprawling meadow near Tillamook's rocky coastline. The festival grounds buzzed with activity. Colorful tents lined the field, showcasing pottery, woven baskets, and local music. Families wandered between booths, and the air carried the scent of fried clams and cedar smoke. Clara clutched the 1993 photo of Sophie and Emma, the teal Volkswagen van's flower decals a nagging clue in her mind. Martin glanced at her, his hands tight on the steering wheel. "Clara, let's be careful. We don't know what we're walking into." "I just need to see him," Clara said, her voice taut. If that was his van in the photo, he might know something. They parked near the entrance and scanned the festival schedule posted on a driftwood sign. The art auction had just ended, but a youth performance was about to begin. They navigated through the crowd, passing displays of hand-painted driftwood and sea glass jewelry, until they spotted a tent with a banner reading Larson's Coastal Harmony Retreat. Clara's breath hitched. There, speaking animatedly to a group of visitors, was Daniel Larson. His hair was now silver, his face lined with age, but his enthusiastic gestures were unmistakable, just as they'd been when he taught Sophie and Emma to play This Land Is Your Land on ukuleles. They waited until the visitors moved on, then approached. "Mr. Larson?" Martin called. Larson turned, his smile polite but guarded. "Yes? Can I help you?" "You might not remember us," Clara said, stepping forward. "I'm Clara Hensley, and this is my husband, Martin. Our daughters, Sophie and Emma, were your students at Seacrest Elementary in 1993. Larson's brow furrowed, his eyes searching their faces. "I'm sorry, it's been a long time. I'm nearly 70 now, and the memory's not what it used to be." He tapped his temple with a wry smile. Clara forced a smile. "I helped organize your farewell concert when you left Seacrest. Sophie and Emma were the twins who always sang the loudest in your classes." Recognition flickered in Larson's eyes. The Hensley twins, yes. Bright girls, full of energy. His smile faded. "I heard about their disappearance. I'm so sorry. We were surprised to find your retreat," Martin said. "It's impressive what you've built." "Thank you," Larson replied, gesturing to the booth. "It's been my passion, helping girls find their voice through music and art." Clara's grip tightened on the photo. "Mr. Larson, do you remember when you left Seacrest? Was it before or after our girls went missing?" Larson hesitated. "Before, I believe. I moved to start the retreat." "Why do you ask?" Clara pulled the photo from her purse and held it out. This was taken the morning they disappeared, June 8, 1993, just hours before. "Look at the background." She pointed to the teal van with its distinctive flower decals. "That's your van, isn't it?" Larson's smile vanished, his face tightening. He stared at the photo for a long moment, then handed it back. "I don't recall driving near your home that day," he said, his voice clipped. "It could be someone else's van." Martin stepped closer. No one else in Seacrest had a van like that. Sophie loved those flower decals. She'd draw them in her notebook. Larson checked his watch. "It's nearly 3 p.m. We're wrapping up soon for the youth performance." He turned to a young woman at the booth. "Lila, start packing up. The show starts in 10 minutes. To Clara and Martin, he added, "You should watch the girls' performance by the main stage. It's something special." As they stepped away, Clara lingered, catching Larson's low, urgent voice on his phone. "Get Tessa here. Now." She froze, then hurried to catch up with Martin, her heart pounding. "Did you hear that?" He sounded nervous. Martin frowned. "Let's watch the performance, but keep an eye out." They moved to the main stage, where a group of girls, mostly of Native American or Hispanic descent, aged 6 to 10, gathered on a wooden platform. They began a lively performance of a folk song, accompanied by ukuleles. Clara scanned the crowd, her mind racing. Then movement near the stage caught her eye. A woman with auburn curls, strikingly similar to Vanessa, emerged from behind a tent, walking quickly toward the vendor area. Her pace was hurried, her expression tense. "Martin," Clara whispered, gripping his arm. "That woman, her hair, her walk. She looks like Vanessa." Martin squinted. "The resemblance is uncanny. Could she be the sister Vanessa mentioned?" "Tessa," Clara said, recalling Larson's phone call. She started moving through the crowd, Martin close behind, circling around a booth selling woven blankets to get a better view. The woman reached Larson's tent and began speaking intently with him. As she turned, Clara gasped. The woman's profile, her high cheekbones, her quick smile, was nearly identical to Vanessa's. "That's her sister," Clara whispered. "They could be twins, like Sophie and Emma." Martin's face paled. The curls, the way she moves, it's like seeing Emma. Clara's voice trembled. Sophie was always the bolder one, with that bright laugh. Emma was quieter, more graceful. Could Vanessa be Sophie? And this woman, Tessa, be Emma? Before Martin could respond, Larson and Tessa abruptly ended their conversation. Larson gestured sharply, and they headed toward the parking lot, leaving the booth staff looking confused. "They're leaving," Clara said, her voice rising. "We need to follow them." Martin grabbed her arm. "Wait, Clara. If there are girls, we need to be sure. Let's check the festival for anything else before we chase them." Reluctantly, Clara nodded. They searched the grounds, weaving through tents, but found no other clues. "Maybe we're wrong," Martin said, doubt creeping into his voice. Clara wasn't convinced. She approached the retreat's booth, where a middle-aged man was packing up art supplies. "Excuse me," she said. "We met Vanessa at the retreat earlier. Then we saw a woman who looked just like her. Tessa. Are they sisters?" The man nodded. "Yeah, they're twins. Been with Mr. Larson since they were kids." "Twins," Clara repeated, her heart racing. She glanced at Martin, whose eyes mirrored her mix of hope and dread. The man smiled. "They help run the retreat. Tessa mostly works at Mr. Larson's private studio nearby, teaching music to the younger girls." "Where's this studio?" Martin asked, his voice steady but urgent. The man hesitated. "I can't give out private addresses, but here's a brochure with the retreat's info." He handed them a pamphlet. Clara and Martin stepped away, finding a quiet corner. "Twins? Martin," Clara whispered. "The right age, 36. And Vanessa said she's been with Larson since she was 7. Martin ran a hand through his hair. "The van, Larson's reaction, and now twins who look like our girls. It's too much to be a coincidence." "We have to find them," Clara said, tears in her eyes. "They could be our daughters." They rushed to the parking lot, but Larson and Tessa were gone. Martin started the truck. Back to the retreat. That's where they'd go. Clara dialed 911, her hands shaking. When connected to Detective Alvarez of the Missing Persons Unit, she explained everything. The van in the photo, Larson's retreat, and the twins who resembled Sophie and Emma. "They'd be 36 now," she said. "Larson left the festival in a hurry when we showed him the photo." "Mrs. Hensley, do not confront Mr. Larson," Alvarez warned. "He's well known in Tillamook for his charity work. We'll handle this. My team and the local sheriff are heading to the retreat now." "We're almost there," Martin said, turning onto the dirt road. Clara relayed this to the detective, who urged them to stay safe and keep the line open. They parked behind a cluster of pines, out of sight from the retreat's main lodge. Minutes later, they saw Larson's teal van pull up, followed by another car. Larson, Vanessa, and Tessa emerged, hurriedly loading bags into the van. "They're leaving," Clara whispered into the phone. "Stay put," Alvarez said. "We've traced the retreat's records. It's under a shell company, not Larson's name. We're issuing search warrants for the retreat and his private studio." 2 sheriff's vehicles roared up, blocking the road. Deputies approached, hands near their holsters. Larson stepped out, hands raised, his face a mix of confusion and defiance. Vanessa and Tessa followed, looking bewildered. Clara watched as a deputy spoke to Larson, who gestured animatedly, pointing to the lodge. "They're hesitating," Martin muttered. "Larson's probably got influence here." Clara couldn't wait. Dropping the phone, she stepped out of the truck, Martin scrambling after her. "Daniel Larson," she called, striding toward them. A deputy intercepted her. "Ma'am, please stay back." Clara held up the photo. "If you're thinking of letting him go, look at this. These are my daughters, Sophie and Emma, who vanished June 8, 1993. She pointed to Vanessa and Tessa. "And here they are, standing right there." Vanessa and Tessa stared at the photo, their faces shifting from confusion to shock. They stepped closer, studying the image of 2 girls in polka-dot dresses. "That's us," Vanessa whispered. "With those dresses." Is there another sister? A deputy asked. No, just us, Tessa said, her voice trembling. Larson's voice rose. I saved these girls. They were abandoned. They were our daughters, Clara said, her voice breaking. They disappeared from our front yard. She pointed to the van in the photo. That's your van, Daniel. You still have it. Tessa turned to Larson. You said our parents were gone. Drug addicts who left us. We're your parents, Martin said, tears streaming down his face. We never stopped looking for you. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. You're our mom and dad? Yes, Clara said. You were born April 12, 1989. Sophie, you loved to sing. Emma, you were always drawing. The deputies exchanged glances. The lead officer stepped forward. Mr. Larson, you're under arrest for suspicion of kidnapping. As Larson was handcuffed, another deputy radioed confirmation of the studio search. In the retreat's garage, they found the teal van. Its flower decals faded but unmistakable. In Larson's office, they uncovered documents with Vanessa and Tessa's false identities and the van's original license plate. They're Sophie and Emma, Clara told Alvarez, watching the evidence being collected. Vanessa is Sophie. She's got that bold laugh. Tessa is Emma, always so graceful. When questioned, Vanessa explained, Daniel kept us at the retreat, saying we were orphans. He was strict, punished us if we didn't follow his rules. It was worse when we were young, Tessa added. He'd make us stand in the cold, sometimes locked us in a room, said it was to teach us discipline. Later, at Larson's private studio, police found 5 girls, aged 5 to 9, who were taken to a hospital for evaluation. That evening, Clara and Martin were driven to the Tillamook police station. In a small interview room, Detective Alvarez took Clara's statement. Seacrest was a close community back then, she said. Daniel was everyone's favorite teacher. He'd sometimes drive kids to music lessons with parents' permission. She recounted that day in 1993. We let the girls play on the boardwalk sometimes. It was safe back then, or so we thought. I was in the kitchen, Martin was fixing a fence. They were gone in an instant. Alvarez nodded. Larson confessed. He said he felt a connection to the twins. That day, he lured them with a promise of a ride in his van to see a new guitar. He'd planned it, forging documents to move them up the coast. How did no one see? Martin asked. They trusted him, Alvarez said. He told them their parents were in trouble, that he was protecting them. Over time, he convinced them you'd abandon them, creating fake stories about your past. Why us? Clara asked, her voice hollow. Larson lost his sister to illness in the 80s, Alvarez said. His psych eval suggests he fixated on twins, seeing them as a way to replace her. He functioned normally enough to hide it, but he was deeply unstable. What now? Martin asked. Larson faces charges. Kidnapping, child abuse, fraud. The girls at his studio are being identified. As for Vanessa and Tessa, Alvarez stood and opened the door. Vanessa and Tessa stepped in, hesitant. Clara saw Sophie's bold spark in Vanessa's eyes, Emma's quiet grace in Tessa's posture. For a moment, silence held them, 30 years of lost moments heavy in the air. Then Clara stood, a sob breaking free. My girls, she whispered. Martin joined her, tears falling. Vanessa moved first, crossing the room to embrace Clara. Tessa followed, and Martin wrapped his arms around them all. We never stopped looking, Clara said, touching their faces. Not one day. We didn't know, Tessa said, her voice breaking. He said you didn't want us. You're here now, Martin said, his voice thick. We're together. Under the harsh station lights, with the Oregon night stretching beyond the window, the Hensleys held each other, beginning the slow journey of healing after 3 decades apart.